All right, so I was inspired by John Hammond today when I received a attack against one of my cell phones from a text message, and I just want to dig right into it. Did a little digging and confirmed it was malicious, as it seems to be. But let's jump over there real quick. All right, so I received this message. It says, USPS client, we have problems with your shipping address. Please update your information. HTTPS, USPS.ws /address. And I know a lot of these /blank inserts are going to end up being what triggers the malicious payload, but also avoids the scanner's detection from a malicious perspective. So got that from a text message, right? Started digging into it. So I went into who is, and in classical fashion, it was literally registered today as an attack method for that particular payload, which makes a lot of sense, right? That's usually how it plays out. Completely redacted. It's whois.2cows.com. So then I wanted to start digging in. So the first thing I usually do is go to DNS Dumpster and try to get just like, what can I understand about their infrastructure? What can I understand about what's going on here? And it really didn't provide a lot, other than I saw some, local host addresses being referenced in some A records. There are no MX records. You had your traditional 2cows DNS records. So everything else looked kind of normal there. But what I did do is say, okay, I've got this 5272, and I could have gone into who is and tried to figure that out, and probably would have landed on the same answer. But what I discovered was, by using Shodan on that IP, the 443 response on that HTTP OK response includes a rebrandly.redirect engine. So it kind of told me that I'm probably looking at like a bit.ly shortener or rebrandly shortener. And as it turns out, that's where the domain was actually registered. So once I started doing that, I said, I need to dig into what this is actually coming from. And so what I did was I went and used Joe Sandbox. Joe Sandbox actually has a new kind of component that you can use where you can actually fire it up and interact with the browser over a VNC session in browser of this remote detonated sandbox. So I did that. I didn't really see anything, which is what the user would see, right? And the intention obviously would be to get you to click on it from your phone. But there was a payload, and it was determined to be malicious. And if you look at the MITRE, it's got process injection, masquerading, process injection on default accounts, encrypted channels for comms, non-application layer protocols. And so it has quite a bit of belief that this is going to be straight up malicious. And so as I dug in, the interesting part was it was coming from and being delivered from Anthony-Smithlaw.com was one of the domains that was also touched during that time, and was part of that attack vector. And so I dug in to anthonysmithlaw.com using DNS Dumpster, which kind of gave me their mail server, which is 6779.178.134, which is mail.anthony-smithlaw.com. I think that one's just a bit of a red herring, but if we look back into the attack chain on the original report, we find that there was a final kind of address that was delivered as we dug through this, that helped me out. And so I went into the virus total side and saw the final URL is actually what appears to be a compromised part of that web page that's hosted at GoDaddy. And that /updr directory is what was the final domain that was being sent as a URL, and it's where the malicious payload was. We see VirusTotal now has, I think, 3 different vendors flagging this URL as malicious. You'll continue to see that as time grows. What I don't want to miss, though, is just remember, when these text messages come in, they're usually going to be malicious. Read the domain, and I've given you some of the tools to go validate and test that concept. Please use them. I'll add them in the comments below. Thank you so much. Like and subscribe.